When planning your dream vacation, you envision breathtaking landscapes, cultural immersion, and unforgettable experiences. However, there are destinations where the shadows of racism loom large, casting a troubling pall over your journey. Hello viewers, and welcome to our channel. In this exploration, we delve into 10 beautiful countries that offer both natural beauty and unsettling racial issues. So, without further ado, let's dive into the video. Number 1. Switzerland. The combination of amazing weather, eye-captivating scenery of the Alps, and small but nice things like the cheeses, Swiss chocolates, which is the best in the world, and watches are what makes Switzerland one of the best tourist and vacation destinations in the world. However, the country might be one of the worst places to visit if you're black. Recent revelations expose a serious problem with racism against people of African descent that cannot be ignored. A recent report presented to the UN Human Rights Council has shed light on this unsettling problem, revealing instances of discrimination that range from shocking police brutality to distressing everyday situations. Switzerland, though never a colonial power, has a dark historical connection to the transatlantic triangular trade, benefiting from its banks, traders, and municipalities. This legacy seems to have left a stain, as evidenced by alarming instances highlighted in the report. Even in playgrounds, the toxic seed of racism has taken root in children's games like Who is Afraid of the Black Man? These seemingly innocent activities foster racially discriminatory attitudes. One glaring issue is racial profiling, where individuals are singled out based on their skin color or ethnicity. Black residents often find themselves subjected to increased police scrutiny, experiencing more frequent searches and identity checks. These encounters have led to tragic consequences, as evidenced by recent cases of black suspects dying during or after interactions with the police. In some instances, the use of excessive force and restraint has resulted in fatalities. The statistics paint a grim picture. Reported cases of racial discrimination have surged by 30% in a single year, revealing both an alarming rise in incidents and a growing willingness among victims to come forward. Shockingly, around 7% of these incidents involved racial profiling, with nearly a third linked to public administration and police interactions. The numbers spotlight an urgent need for change. Number 2. France. With about 90 million visitors every year, France is the world's most popular tourist destination. Stunning locations like the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre Museum, or a stroll through the streets of Paris is a thrilling experience for most people. However, despite its rich history and culture, the European nation carries a shadow of racism that cannot be ignored. While it may not be immediately apparent to outsiders, there's a troubling undercurrent that taints the experience for many. Despite celebrating milestones in combating racism, recent observations reveal that this issue hasn't entirely dissipated. The COVID-19 pandemic inadvertently provided fertile ground for harmful anti-Semitic conspiracy theories to flourish. Additionally, political campaigns have reignited discussions about migration and security, often with concerning undertones. The backdrop of these events underscores the fact that racist and xenophobic sentiments persist. A significant aspect of this situation is that, in French society, racism often lurks beneath the surface, hidden behind the smiling facade. This subtle racism manifests itself in everyday scenarios, where black individuals are relegated to roles such as back office staff or cleaning personnel. This reality is hard to ignore when witnessing the stark divide in occupation and opportunities. This creates a disheartening narrative, one where black and brown people play an integral role in the vibrancy of the city, but remain marginalized and invisible. Number 3. Colombia. While Colombia boasts a vibrant culture and warm hospitality, there's a sobering reality that cannot be overlooked. It is one of the 10 countries where the shadows of racism loom large, casting a heavy burden on its Afro-Colombian and indigenous populations. While strolling through the bustling streets of Bogotá, or admiring the natural beauty of Chaco's Pacific Department, it becomes evident that Colombia's racial history is deeply etched into its fabric. The statistics speak volumes. Colombia is home to the second largest population of Afro-descendants in Latin America, yet their presence remained unnoticed until the 1990s. Even though laws embracing multiculturalism were introduced in the 1990s, the journey towards social equity has been an uphill struggle. Before this, Afro-Colombians were often considered invisible, overlooked by both the state and academic disciplines. A vivid example lies in Chaco, a predominantly Afro-Colombian department, where a staggering 82.1% of the population proudly embraces their heritage. However, this pride is juxtaposed against economic hardships. Gold and platinum, coveted resources, paint a stark picture of the power struggle. Chaco and Antioquia departments reign as Colombia's gold producers, a magnet for corporate interests, often international ones. Canadian, U.S., and Brazilian companies engage in large-scale mining, while illegal operations by armed groups further compound the problem. This economic exploitation runs hand in hand with the historical undercurrents of racism, as the state's focus on development aligns more with fitting into Western ideals than with addressing the plight of its marginalized citizens. Education, a fundamental right, underscores Colombia's racial disparity. When torrential rains and mining induced reversalones, Black and indigenous children losing months of access to education. Impoverished teachers improvised amid flooded classrooms, using sunlight to salvage soaked books. Number 4. Mexico. When you step into Mexico, you're entering a nation where the clash of racism and classism has left an indelible mark on society. It's a truth that's often masked by vibrant landscapes and rich cultures, yet one that cannot be ignored. Mexico, a land of contrasts, harbors a shadowy side of racism that casts a long and troubling shadow. Amidst the bustling streets and festive celebrations, a disturbing pattern emerges. While racism is prevalent in every aspect of life, you will notice it most commonly in the media. Advertising billboards flash images that subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, weave racism and classism into the very fibers of society. From beer and car commercials to department store promotions and supermarket ads, the prevalence of white faces in these campaigns acts as a haunting specter, enticing impoverished Mexicans to believe that their ticket out of economic hardship is a future of unattainable whiteness. This advertising onslaught isn't just a casual occurrence. It's a glaring reminder of the deep-seated divisions that plague the country. Remember the 2018 scandal involving Indio Bear? The campaign featured fair-skinned Mexicans wearing shirts that played with the derogatory term pinche indio, an insult hurled at indigenous people. The shirts were altered to read Orgullosamente Indio, or Proudly Indian. Yet the campaign's creators oddly believed that having white individuals assume indigenous identity would effectively combat discrimination. Similar stories of insensitivity pervade ads beyond Mexican borders. El Salvadoran soda promotions, Colombian laundry detergent commercials, and even the widespread elite toilet paper branding throughout Latin America all seem to echo the sentiment that whiteness sells. This unsettling trend is rooted in the societal bias that places white skin on a pedestal, exuding an air of superiority. Number 5. Brazil. Behind the samba beats and beautiful beaches lies a darker truth. Brazil stands as one of the top 10 countries with a distressing racism problem that can make visiting a deeply unsettling experience. It might be surprising, especially given Brazil's image as a melting pot of different races. But beneath the surface, a deep-seated racial divide persists. This divide stems from a long history that began after the abolition of slavery in 1888. Rather than actively working to integrate Black people into society, the Brazilian authorities crafted a carefully constructed narrative of racial harmony. They aimed to portray Brazil as a unique haven where all races coexist peacefully. However, this narrative hides a painful reality that many Brazilians, particularly Black and mixed-race individuals, continue to suffer. In the 21st century, statistics reveal a sobering truth about racial inequality in Brazil. Black and brown Brazilians bear the brunt of police violence, lack access to education, and face limited representation in decision-making circles. Shockingly, they make up a staggering 64% of the unemployed population and are almost 3 times more likely to fall victim to homicides. This staggering inequality is reflected in their income as well. On average, they earn only half of what their white counterparts do. A glance at Brazil's demographics reveals the intricacies of its racial landscape. The population comprises about 40% mixed-race individuals, 5% Black, and 54% white. These classifications are often based on appearance rather than strict ancestry, leading to an intricate web of identity. Number 6, USA. This might come as a surprise to some viewers, but surely many of you will think it is pretty obvious. When you set foot in the United States, a land often touted as the land of opportunity and freedom, you might be confronted with a sobering truth that many would rather ignore. America's struggles with racism are deep-rooted, pervasive, and undeniable. It's an uncomfortable reality that has come to the forefront time and time again, painting a picture of a nation grappling with its own ideals. The tragic demise of African Americans in 2020 at the hands of a police officer in Minneapolis sent shockwaves around the globe. This heart-wrenching incident not only exposed the deeply ingrained racism within American institutions, but also triggered a larger conversation about the realities faced by Black immigrants in the country. While the majority of Black Americans are descendants of those who were forcibly brought to the U.S. as slaves, a substantial portion, nearly 5 million people, are Black immigrants who arrived in pursuit of the American dream. However, the promise of a better life often meets the harsh reality of systemic racism. Consider the recent case of Patrick Lyoya, a 26-year-old who fled the Democratic Republic of Congo with his family 8 years ago, seeking refuge and opportunity in the U.S. His story, unfortunately, ended in tragedy when he was fatally shot by a police officer in Grand Rapids, Michigan during a routine traffic stop. Number 7, Cuba. On the surface, Cuba might seem like the best island vacation spot. You will find some of the most beautiful Caribbean beaches renowned for their crystal-clear waters and fine sand, rich cuisine, diversity of its people's cultures, and world-class entertainment. However, there are aspects of the country's reality that might give one pause, especially if you're a person of color. Cuba has often been celebrated for its rich culture, vibrant music, and historical significance. But beneath the surface, there exists a complex and concerning issue: racism. Cuba's reputation as a heavily policed nation has garnered attention, and not for the right reasons. Citizens, regardless of their ethnicity, can find themselves subjected to random detentions on the streets. This unsettling practice is even more pronounced for Black Cubans, particularly when they are seen in the company of white foreigners. If you're a white American woman traveling with a black partner or black friends, you might find yourself shocked by the frequency with which they are stopped and questioned about their interactions with you. The Cuban government seems to possess an almost obsessive desire to ensure the safety of white tourists, which can lead to uncomfortable and disheartening encounters for those affected. Even black Americans, who might have assumed a level of shared identity in Cuba, can find themselves mistakenly targeted by the police. The late Mark Sawyer, an African-American Cuban scholar, recounted his experiences of being stopped frequently. He revealed that his mere possession of a passport redirected the police officer's suspicions towards his intent, insinuating that he might be a troublemaking Cuban American. Number 8. Morocco. While Morocco promises an amazing experience with a diverse landscapes and rich culture, you may uncover a side that often goes unspoken, a shadow cast by a history marked by centuries of the trans-Sahara slave trade. Over the centuries, Morocco participated in the trans-Sahara slave trade, which has left a lasting impact. Unfortunately, anti-black racism still exists today, even though the issue is often denied or ignored by non-black Moroccans. In daily life, racist terms and derogatory labels are used to refer to black Moroccans, diminishing their worth and humanity. This language, rooted in historical prejudices, reflects a lack of understanding and empathy. The animalization of black people in Morocco is not infrequent. Black individuals are sometimes compared to animals like monkeys and pigs, reducing them to dehumanizing stereotypes. This treatment is especially targeted at migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, making them feel like outsiders. They can be called card, monkey, khanzir, pig, akil lami al-bashar, cannibal, and hayawan, animal. They may be greeted by the sounds monkeys supposedly make, which is described as guera, guera. The heritage of black Moroccans is frequently denied and accosted with the veiled attack of the phrase, "Meninti, where are you from?" said by their fellow citizens, as if true Moroccans are all white. Black Moroccans often face questions about their origins that imply they don't belong in the country. This exclusionary attitude denies their heritage and makes it harder for them to feel like valued members of society. Surprisingly, the history of slavery, the diversity of the population, and racism are not taught in schools or discussed openly. Number 9. Italy. When you have your mind set on visiting different countries, there are a lot of factors to consider: the culture, the food, the scenery, and the people you'll meet. Italy might be high on your travel list, known for its historical sites, delicious cuisine, and charming streets. However, there's another side to Italy that's important to acknowledge: racism. This is a problem that has been highlighted time and again, causing concerns among locals and visitors alike. Racism is an issue that persists in various corners of the world, and Italy is unfortunately no exception. Instances of racism have become more visible in recent years, leading to widespread public outcry and condemnation. It's important to note that there are voices within the country, like Paul Egonu, a volleyball player of Nigerian descent, who acknowledge that Italy has been dealing with racism, but believes that things are gradually improving. On the other hand, people like Lilian Forum, a former professional footballer from France, have expressed a more pessimistic view, suggesting that racism has escalated, particularly under the influence of the current right-wing coalition government led by Giorgia Meloni. One incident that shocked many occurred at a popular music contest, where Paola Egonu candidly stated that Italy has racism, but is slowly progressing. However, this optimism clashes with reports of racial incidents, such as the case of football player Romelu Lukaku, who was targeted by racist chants from Juventus fans, resulting in the city of Turin issuing 171 restraining orders. One of the challenges in addressing racism in Italy is the lack of comprehensive data. The government does not actively collect statistics on race and ethnicity, making it harder to gauge the extent of the issue. Number 10. Spain. When you think of Spain, you might conjure images of vibrant culture, beautiful beaches, and bustling cities. However, beneath its breathtaking allure lies a disturbing truth that might make you rethink your travel plans. Spain, a country that has been home to diverse communities for decades, including Black Spaniards and foreigners of color, is grappling with a deep-seated problem: racism. This is not an issue confined to a few isolated incidents. It's a pervasive problem that has led many to dupe Spain as one of the top 10 racist countries you'd rather avoid. For years, individuals of African descent who hold Spanish citizenship and people of color living in Spain have voiced their distressing experiences of racial discrimination. Despite the country's multicultural makeup, instances of racist treatment have become all too common. Abraham Jimenez Inouye, a Cuban writer who made Spain his new home in 2021, has been documenting his personal encounters with racism. Shockingly, he has recorded a staggering 182 incidents so far. From being unjustly followed around stores to facing unwarranted ID checks on public transport, Inouye's accounts paint a distressing picture of a society that seems to have turned a blind eye to its own prejudices. Even more heart-wrenching is the fact that Inouye's own child, with lighter skin, receives compliments that his father is denied simply due to his darker complexion. The world of sports, often seen as a unifying force, has not been spared from this ugly reality. In a recent game involving Real Madrid and Valencia, in May 2023, Vinicius Jr., a talented young player, faced horrifying racial slurs from opposition supporters. Cries of "monkey" echoed through the stadium, a deeply offensive taunt that speaks volumes about the pervasive racism lurking within Spanish society. This incident is not an isolated one for Vinicius. He has spoken out about the continuous episodes of racial abuse he has suffered during his time in Spain. Even outside the stadium, the ugly face of racism emerges. So, this was our today's video. I hope you all like it. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos to let more people know the truth about Blacks, and to hear their own part of the narratives.